this lesson is on direct variation. At the end of the lesson, you can write and graph direct variation equations, and you can solve problems involving direct variation. Direct variation just means there's a relationship between two variables. As one gets larger, the other gets proportionately larger or smaller. The equation reads y equals kx, and k is your constant of variation. So the graph for direct variation is always linear, and it always passes through that 0, 0 origin. The slope is k, so k, constant of variation. We've also talked about it being rate of change. We talked about it being slope, all right? When the slope is k, the y-intercept is 0 in a direct variation equation. So if we want to check for direct variation, we can look at the ordered pairs and see if they're proportional. We could also look at the graph and make sure it goes through 0, 0. And the equation should be written as y equals kx. So some examples. Tell whether the equation represents a direct variation. The first one, we need it to be in y slope-intercept form. So I'm going to add x to both sides. And we get y is equal to x plus 1. Is this direct variation? No, because it's going to start at 1. And this one, I'm going to subtract 4x from both sides. And that gets me negative 5y equals negative 4x. Divide both sides by negative 5, and we get y is equal to 4/5 x. Yes, this is direct variation. All right, this one wants us to write the direct variation equation that relates x and y. So we know that to get our k, y equals kx, we could take y divided by x. So this wants us to write a direct variation equation and then find out what is y when x is 5. So to get my direct variation equation, I'm going to take the y, so I'm going to get k is my y divided by x. And so that gets us 2. So that is our k. So our equation is y equals 2x. And then we'll plug in the 5 and find out what is y when x is 5. So y is 2, substitute the 5 for x, and y is 10. So the answer, this one and this one, are the answers to this question. The second one says, if y is 1 1/4 and x is 5, find y when x is 12. So the first thing I need to do is find my k, and that's 1 1/4 over 5. If I divide 1 1/4 divided by 5, I would get k is equal to 1/4. So my equation is y equals 1/4 x. That's the first part. The second part is plugging in 12 for x. So y equals 1/4 times 12, y equals 3. Write an equation for the direct variation sorry. So first I want to see what is going on here. So I want to see my x, my k, or my m. So I'm going to choose these 2 points of 2 and negative 2.5. And the other point of negative 7 and 8.75. So y minus y is negative 2.5 minus 8.75 over x minus x. 2 minus negative 7. That gets us a negative 11.25 over 9. So that means that my m is 1.25, negative 1.25. So my equation is y equals negative 1.25 x. And is this direct variation? Yes. All right, let's look at the graph. So if I'm going to write an equation, I need the slope. So I can choose these 2 points of 0, 0, and 4, 6. Or I can just say, how much am I going up? That's the numerator. And how much am I going right? That's the denominator. So I simplify this to 3/2. So my equation is y equals 3/2 x. It's direct variation because it's going through 0, 0. Write a direct variation for the equation. Competitive race walkers move at a speed of about 9 miles per hour. So every hour, the competitive racer goes 9 miles. So my equation is going to be y equals 9x. Malika charges $8 per hour for babysitting. My equation is going to be y equals 8x. Graph the direct variation equation. Well, direct variation equation we know starts at 0, 0. So for A, start at 0, 0. The numerator tells me up. The denominator tells me right, because the numerator is our y, change in y, over the change in x. So that means up 1, right 3. Up 1, right 3. I could also see this as -1 over -3, and that would mean I'd go down 1 and left 3. Down 1 and left 3. And there's my graph. The second one says y equals 4x. So my slope is 4 over 1, or -4 over -1. So I begin at 0, 0, count up 4, right 1, or down 4, left 1. And there's my graph. In the third one, the slope can be seen as -1 over 2, or 1 over -2. So this is going to be a negative slope. We begin at 0, 0, and we can go down 1, right 2, down 1, right 2, or up 1, left 2, up 1, left 2. And there's our graph. So are hours worked and paycheck a direct variation? Yes. Is your birthday and your height a direct variation? No.